First of all, it's great to have you here. Maybe you guys can introduce yourselves so you have a better understanding of what you do than I do, so you can tell people. Let's start with, see if I can get it right this time. Pananingtyas. I know everyone calls you Riri, but I'm really trying. As you know, I lived in Indonesia, so I'm really trying on this one. Pananingtyas.
Pananingtyas.
Pananingtyas. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Okay. Hi everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Pananingtyas. I know it's quite a hard name even for Indonesian, so you can just call me Riri. I'm the head of artist services from Believe Indonesia. And yeah, happy to be here with everyone. Thank you.
Great. And Kossy, you're head of music for all of Spotify or for APAC?
Or Asia.
For Asia, right. Okay. Yay! Everyone knows Kossy. She's been in the music industry a long time. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi Rob, hi Riri, hi everyone. So I've been at Spotify for over a decade. So pretty much, when we first stepped foot in Asia, and I think a lot has changed. And I've known Riri for a long time, since day one. And I think the thing that had remained consistent is that a lot of the work that we do, centers around the question of how can we support artists, how can we amplify their music in the region and beyond, and also how can we drive deeper connection with fans. So I think what really excites us, about the work that we do today is really centered around how do we, help amplify an artist's journey, which is why I'm also really happy to be sitting here and talking about something that's very close to our hearts.
Right. And a territory that I have to say obviously is close to me personally because I lived in Indonesia and is sadly underrepresented in the world all the time, not only in the music industry, but all of the time. I mean, we're here in Asian Singapore, so this is going to sound silly to you guys, but ask people what the fourth biggest country in the world is outside of Southeast Asia. I mean, ask people outside of Southeast Asia. They will not give you the correct answer, of course, is Indonesia. But so let's move on and let's talk about, can you guys walk us through how you fit into this journey and how you collaborate to support artists?
Yeah, I can go first.
Sure.
So if I can anchor it around three key things, I think it really centers around accessibility and empowerment, and then the last one is intent. So when you talk about accessibility, like 1 in 12 people in the world are on Spotify, and that's an incredible playground for music discovery. So, we work very closely to identify like key artists, and of course the team works on how we can help them expand their audience, right? Like, so a lot of people here might be familiar with, the work that our editorial team does, but a lesser known fact is that this team actually meets on a weekly basis to talk to other editors in the world about music that's exciting coming from their region. And this is why a lot of Asian artists are being picked up and supported across the ecosystem. And likewise, on the reverse, we're also importing a lot of exciting talents from other parts of the world. And then on empowerment, like never has there been more artist tools available. I've been here long enough to say that, it's one of the most exciting eras for product innovation and launches. Like we're now giving tools to artists across their entire release cycle, right? From, being able to activate pre-release countdowns to short form and long form video content, as well as testing very innovative formats like listening parties. So we recently ran one with Believe with Hindia around his tour. And that type of tool is actually, really resonates with like Asia, where, it's very fandom driven and people are highly engaged. And then the last one on intent. So I wanted to call out the team. Our music team is here today. They do incredible work every day trying to, look at how can we drive artist development and discovery. And, it's very intentional, the work that we do, right? We are not here to chase a moment. We're actually here for the long term. And because, we have that kind of partnerships with our partners, that has a lot of success stories has come out from that. So some of our most successful artist partnership, and Sylvan spoke a little bit about Saran, it's things that we've been working over a few years. Like we recently actually just launched our radar, 1,000 artists on our radar program. So we just celebrated 1,000 artists being on radar, which is our global emerging artists program. And just looking at that program itself, a lot of artists has broken out. So we've Saran, for example, was a radar artist, and there's a lot more of these examples. So it doesn't happen overnight. It's actually a very consistent kind of collaboration collaboration and communication and building over time that we see all these success stories happen.
Great, great. Riri, you want to chime in?
Yes, I think I have seen similar topics with Kossy, which I have three. I think three is our number magic now. We have accessibility and also expertise and partnership, which regarding to the accessibility, as what Sylvain just mentioned, that we have the access, that artist has the access, but I think the important part is how the ability to artists to cut the noise and find the relevant audience for it. And then it's supported as well by our expertise, but within in our company, with our team and also our tools that also help our artists to develop and find the long-term impact results, and then not chasing for a quick wins, which also is connected with my third aspect, which is the partnership, which we are very aligned with Spotify when we are very focused on serving our local market with our local artists, with our local musics, which is very, very aligning with the partnership and also how we want to achieve the long-term impact. And I think overall on that, within this through 6 years in our artist services, we're very, very happy to see our artists on the top chart of Spotify in across countries, not only in Indonesia. In Philippines, we have Al James. In Thailand, we have Saran and also Blackheart. And in Indonesia, our artists, Hindia and Fiz, both of them are in the top 3 albums, best albums and songs and artists, which is results of our very, very long-term vision and very, very how we want to focus on the access that we can able to cut the noise to find the right audience.
Right, right. Let's drill down on it. I mean, what challenges do you guys see for artist development and discovery today? I think there's a lot of challenges out there, so maybe you can tell us how you approach those, Kossy.
Yeah, I think it's no secret in this room that there's so much music out there, so it's getting harder to cut through the noise. Discovery is also not linear anymore. You see, catalog having its moment, which is great, because music from my generation is now being discovered by the new generation as new music, which is really cool. But I think while there's a lot of kind of music out there, it's also been never been more exciting for the region. I think a lot of people were talking about how there's just so much happening in this part of the world, and I think we really want to celebrate that diverse landscape. So what we really do is to spotlight some of these, emerging music cultures that's happening, and really focusing on the storytelling and showcasing some of these things. Like for example, in Thailand, there's the T-pop wave. There's also rock that we're working on. And in Philippines, we spoke a bit about P-pop. Just a couple of weeks ago, we heard that Beanie has made the lineup for Coachella. So that's like an amazing time for Asia, really, to see it on the map. So while there's a lot of noise, there's all these kind of really exciting music cultures. And then in Indonesia, there's Hip Dude that everyone has heard of. So, I'm sure everyone will go stream some Hip Dude after this. I think I've heard it at least 5 times already. While there is noise, I think we stand to continue to kind of showcase some of these genres. And also, in terms of cutting through the noise, I think we are also very focused on, that empowerment and letting artists have more artist expression tools. They are able to now, connect deeper with fans. There's more visual formats that they can use on the platform. And, there's a lot of creative ways that they can actually engage more deeply with fans as well.
Sure. We'll probably circle back to Hip Dude because I'm not sure everybody here is familiar with it. But let's put that on a shelf for a second and stay with development and discovery. Maybe Riri can give us some insights.
Yeah, I think cut the noise is the important part. But I think the most frequent question that coming from me from the musician is how to become a musician who has becoming as a one-stopper player. like one stopper catch audience. But I think for now, I don't think one stopper player power will be relevant. But I think the most impactful and the most giving the musician long-term impact is a multiply stopper power, because I believe you cannot deliver or communicate your authenticity as a musician with the music and all only by having one stopper power. By that, I mean you have to do like more creativity, more talents, and the quality content that Sylvain also mentioned. And I think the important is the authenticity of the artist and how they making music, what's the value of the music that they want to communicate and to promote. So I think it's very important to cut the noise of that and then becoming more authenticity and more having the authenticity and then catching more long-term vision, not only a quick wins.
I think if I can just add
Sure.
one more thing on, cutting the noise. So we spoke a little bit about how, personalization is actually doing its work to drive discovery at scale. But what we have been increasingly focused on is storytelling and also contextualizing music, because there's a lot of noise, and we want to bring back that editorial voice back into the forefront. So there are certain things that we've been doing, like new formats that we've been testing, called editorial watch feeds, and there are also the shows like The Drop. It's actually piloted in the US, so it's basically weekly shows that's highlighting recommendations of tracks and artists that are not, that are basically curated by the humans. So we're kind of bringing that voice back into the forefront to help, bring more discovery in new and exciting ways.
Interesting. Well, let's drill down a little bit more. I'm really pushing you guys. What do you think are the key levers for success in the streaming age, and more specifically, in the region that we're talking about, in the countries that you work in?
Yeah, I think, a lot of times when we're thinking about export, we tend to think about export far out. But I feel like for us as a team, that whole intra-Southeast Asia success story is increasingly a focus for us, because, we don't really have to go very far. The cultural exchange that's happening in this region is really, really exciting. So if we've recently sat with an artist that was telling us like, hey, we were able to tour the region because our music got discovered, and it's just across the border. And I think that success is going to slowly build to more kind of like ripple effect from home, and then people globally is going to notice, because obviously the volume and audience here is going to move global culture as well. So I think that's really exciting. And collaboration is still happening. We're seeing a lot of interesting collaborations between artists, and I think sometimes, we feel like, oh, it may not be a hit, it might not be on the charts, but what is really driving is talkability and, opening up new doors for opportunities across the different regions. So we were sitting with an artist once, and he was like, he's a Korean-American singer-songwriter called Each. And he at that time came in and he said, hey, I'm really interested in Southeast Asia as a region. I've actually discovered Hindia on a Spotify playlist. And I'm like, wow, we're also driving music discovery for artists, great. So he was like, oh, should we collaborate? I really want to kind of, I like his music. And we're like, why not? And then soon they put out music. And then today, Each continues kind of build his fan base in Indonesia, and Jakarta is his top listening city. Wow. So I think this whole, music culture exchange, and, we are seeing like T-pop actually making waves across the borders, just in Southeast Asia and in some markets like LATAM as well. And then we're also seeing a very vibrant indie scene that's coming out. And, indie artists are actually being streamed in Japan, Korea. And that's very intentional in how we are kind of moving music across borders to drive even more discovery and exciting collaboration that I feel will really grow this region as a very important music market.
Right. Where was that artist originally from? The one?
It's from Korea, but based in LA.
Right. From Korea, right. Based where? You said he was from Korea, but based?
LA.
All right. That's fantastic. Riri, you have some insights to add?
Yeah, I think in terms of the artist development, the key levers is, first of all, is the creativity and the talent. I think that is the key how the musician can have the authenticity and engage with the audience, because Most of the time, yes, music is for entertaining, but most of the time as well, that music is very meaningful and create the emotions with the audience. So I think that's the matter. And then by having that kind of authenticity, as a belief, we always start to build the promotion and also how they can share and promote the music. What we did is always has building the partnership, like with Spotify, like how we always keep aligning with our both KPIs. How can our artists be part of their vision as well? How we also can giving more insight to our partner and giving more like access and connection with our artists as well. And then the last part is also building the tools that what we have. That tools is also important. How we can also developing the audience, like within in our internal we have this catalog optimization that also just mentioned by Silvang. Together with also with Spotify, we also supporting our catalog to get discovered with many various audience, so it can help our catalog to be more discovered by various audience, of course. And then I think the last part is also like how we keep collaborate each other and between the DSP and also the tools that we have so far.
Great, great. I'm really excited about the success stories that you guys mentioned. So I want to hear more or more deeper about the success stories. If you can tell us specifically about success stories in the region or in Indonesia, that would be awesome. I love that.
Cool. I think Sylvan stole the thunder on Saran.
We're blaming Sylvan now. Well, he's the head of Asia, so.
But yeah, Saran was one of those really like growth journey for us because he started as a radar artist and he ended last year being the top stream artist in Thailand. I think we all stood up and cheered because we've been building his streaming profile over years with Believe. But since we already spoken about Saran, I can throw back to the time where we were building hip hop in the Philippines. So at that time, it started same thing with a conversation with our partners. Like there is a rising scene. Like we're seeing hip hop really thriving, and it was really exciting, but it wasn't quite strong on streaming at that time. So then we started embarking on this journey maybe 4 or 5 years ago to really spotlight hip hop. And we picked a lot of hip hop artists. I remember the team had actually, DM'd some hip hop artists at that time on Facebook. And that was how dedicated the team was in trying to unearth some of these hidden gems. And then we have a case where Hef Abi, so he was also in our radar program. So we picked him as an emerging artist at that time, and built over time. He was featured across a lot of the marketing and initiatives that we were doing around hip hop in the Philippines, and also working in lockstep with partners on his releases, amplification. He was using the tools, and then same thing. He ended the year in 2024 as the top stream local artist in the Philippines. So from hip hop being super underground to then actually really owning, showcasing that space, and then seeing that artists actually break through, and having a hip hop artist be on top of a market where it was so pop leaning. I think that was a really big success story for all of us, and
Amazing.
It was also over a long period of time. So
that's great. Yeah,
development takes time, and I think that is really
right.
what matters.
Right. And Riri, you want to add some success stories?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of success story together with Spotify, but I just want to talk one story. But as an artist services, we launched 2 local imprints that we're very focused on, which is Kit Labo as an imprint for urban pop, and then Krumulo is for the regional pop or hyperlocal musicians. While in 2022, like 5 out of 6 of our 5 out of 6 of artists that Spotify chose for Suara Indonesia marketing campaign is one of the biggest campaign that Spotify launched at that time. 5 out of 6 is coming from Kit Labo and Krumulo. At that time, we create like a very massive campaign. We create many activities in app and offline as well. And I think because starting that, we pivoting to our top 2 artists within Kit Labo, which is Hindia and Yura. Until today, India is the top number one streaming on Spotify so far. Hopefully, we can maintain that. And then, and then also for Yura Unita, if you today coming to Indonesia, you will see everywhere because of Spotify is chosen Yura Unita as the TVC campaign for the national exposure. So I think we have like very, very long-term journey and campaign, which Spotify always be in every success story of our artists, especially for Hindia and Yura.
Yeah, I mean, I think both of those artists are really well known at this point. Could you just give us a little more with their story? How long have you been developing them? And I mean, certainly, I think Yura has been around for a long time, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably pre-pandemic. I think I remember
2020? Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the time where we really started talking about this artist, and the same journey kind of took place, right? We really kind of went, to understand what the ambitions were and what was the story behind the tracks, and then, I think it's the key is consistency. Like every time Hindia had put out something or Yura had put out something, we were lockstep in, being able to kind of drive awareness to this artist, and then to Riri's point, that campaign that we did, which was Suaradari Indonesia, it really serves to showcase like the diverse landscape of Indonesian music. And then we featured some of these artists. It was a lot of storytelling that was involved, and I think that was really what connected with fans. And then, the audience continued to kind of build. And over time, like to your point, Hindia and Yura then became some of the top streamed artists. And we are seeing many, many of these different successes in the hyperlocal scene. Javanese was a similar thing where when we were saying that there's a gap between what's consumed out there in the market versus what's on streaming, and then slowly through the power of education, really artist outreach and picking an artist to really kind of develop over time, we've seen successes in even the hyperlocal genres like Javanese, which we were talking about, translating onto Spotify as well.
Right, right. I want to talk a little bit about the Indonesian market because I think it's unique. And we brought up earlier Hipdut. We might have to move a step back before that. I don't know how much people know about the Indonesian market. I think there's a lot of international people here. So let's talk about Dangdut first, and then we can move on to Hipdut. Could you explain what Dangdut is?
Well, Dangdut, before that, I think for everyone knows that Indonesia has a very diverse culture.
Yes.
Which create a very diverse music genre as well.
Right.
One of them is Dangdut. Dangdut is a very hyper-local one with a rhythmic traditional instrumental, which also has a significant audience in terms of consumption in Indonesia, and it keep evolving during the modern era. I mean, most of the time Dangdut keep merge with other genres as well. Like previously, they merge with rock. Sometimes they call it rock dut and pop dut. It's just like it depends on the era. And now I think it's the era of hip dut, which is hip hop and dangdut.
Right. Let's just pause for a second. So dangdut, I guess, is become popular in in Indonesia in the 60s, or it goes back even further than that. I think that's when it started, right? Dangdut.
I think it goes far before
really far
60s.
Back. Yeah, and I mean, I would say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, in some way, it's one of the dominant genre in Indonesia, and it doesn't really exist outside of Indonesia.
True. I think that's why the regional genre like dangdut or Javanese pop is also very becoming the biggest consumption in our market. That's why we are aligning with Spotify, that we have like very dedicated playlist, dedicated campaign for those kind of music art.
Very important, yeah. And then Hipdut, when did that start? I hadn't heard of that until yesterday.
Yeah, no, I think last year or earlier in the year it blew up really. And the cool thing about it is that there's actually a young generation of artists that are making this music. So we had a privilege of meeting some of them, and they actually told us that they were trying to to go against the grain of traditional Indonesian music. So they started blending all these genres that, created that authenticity of, hey, this is music from Indonesia, but at the same time, they kind of made it cool in their own way. So I think that's what really kind of connected with the audience, and I think that's why there's like a huge movement right now among the young generations that are now listening to this genre that has existed for a long time and was always known to be a bit more hyper-local. I think now it has crossed into the mainstream and also to the younger generation,
Right.
which is really cool.
Right. And is the hip hop that's influencing Hip Dude, is that like from the US or is that more local hip hop to start with?
I think it's a bit combined between the US reference and also some local, because in local, our hip hop that works is something that could be sing along or
Melodic.
something like that, melodic. And I think that's already like being combined
Yeah,
by many reference.
Got it. Okay, well, thanks for the information. I learned something. And so we're running out of time, but maybe you guys have some final remarks you'd like to give to our audience?
Okay, yeah, I think now is the important is how we cut the noise, but by that, so really need regarding to our artist success is how the creativity is matter, and also how the sophistication of digital strategy to develop our artists is to develop the audience is important. So here, as a belief, I think we're very focused on our expertise, how we can also create the access to become a success, and also like how we deliver and cut the noise, and also find the right audience to our artists to reach the long-term impacts. I think that's our goal for now.
Right.
I think for me, I wanted to kind of throw back to something that an industry mentor once told me. So when I was just starting out, he said, we're in a position to make a difference, and it's a privilege that we should never take for granted. And I think that's something that the team and I hold very close to our hearts, because till today we get very sentimental and emotional. We talk about artist development and discovery is when artists come up to us and say, hey, thank you so much for being there from day one. Until today, that really, I think, gives our work meaning, and that's something that we want to continue and commit to do with all our partners here. And besides that, I think I sound like a broken record. We've heard a lot of people say this as well. I think Asia is really having its moment. The local music scene has never been more exciting. It's so diverse. There's so many artists to be, uncovered. And I think I'm really looking forward to the future of what's to come in this region in the next 5 years. It's only going to get more exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to push you a little bit here, just at the very end. Since you're the head of Asia, do you think it's possible that Spotify will push more Asian musics into, the international sphere, Europe and the United States?
Yeah, 1,000%. We are already doing it. You're seeing artists actually from Indonesia, and there were some indie artists. They actually made it into our global playlist ecosystem, and they are actually touring the UK. So there's many, many more of these stories, and that's like what we do on a day-to-day basis. We live and breathe it, and at the end of the day, we want Asian music to reach as far-flung as anywhere across the world. So we'll continue to do that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. A big round of applause for Kossy and Edie. Thank you so much.